Hello again from me, Ian Wolstenholme, and welcome to another 30 minutes of popular organ music here on Radio Cavell. On tonight's programme, we listen to the very latest electronic technology from the Yamaha Organ Company, as described by one of their senior demonstrators, Glyn Madden, whom I met up with last week when he appeared as guest artist for the South Lancashire Electronic Organ Society. A couple of weeks ago, we featured a track from Glyn's latest LP, and so to be appropriate, interspersed during the conversation tonight, extracts from some of the other material to be found on the record, such as this. Glyn, it's something like 2 years since we met at a Yamaha demonstration in Oldham, and I think it's fair to say that at the time the company was just about to branch into the age of microchip technology. And now here we are confronted with an instrument such as the one of the F-series models, a machine which looks good and certainly sounds amazing. Is it easy to play?
I don't think that it's any easier to play than the instruments that we've had in the past. The actual playing of the notes, that is, as apart from the actual controlling of the instrument. The controls are certainly a lot easier. Everything is now split into sections, easily colour-coded, and most of the things, the fiddly things like vibratos, tremolants, etc., are done for you at the push of a button, which is it's lovely. It makes things a lot quicker.
How about the sounds themselves? How real are they?
The sounds are fabulously real. You heard the concert tonight, and I'm sure your listeners will hear some of the sounds of the instrument. Every instrumental sound on the Yamaha F-Series are taken from the actual real instrument, so that if you hear a trumpet sound, it isn't something that just sounds like a trumpet. It's an actual trumpet that has been taken into a recording studio, recorded not on tape, but digitally recorded onto a microchip, placed in the instrument's console, and you key it out as via the normal piano keys or organ keys.
Do you think that, in general terms, that is going to be the trend of the future, that organ manufacturers apart from Yamaha, are going to cotton onto the idea of actually digitally recording live musicians playing their respective instruments and then feeding them into a computerised type of organ system?
Yeah, I think this is what's got to happen now in the future, and certainly it seems more and more every year that more and more companies are expanding and experimenting in the field of digital electronics. Basically because, of course, now organs, we're what, 40 years away from the theatre organ era? The youngsters certainly have never heard of theatre organ, many of them. They don't have any preconceived idea of what an organ should or should not sound like. Therefore, we're finding it a lot easier now to put across the idea of an orchestral instrument, an orchestral home instrument. We get a lot of people, as you know, that say, okay, if we want to listen to an orchestra, we'll go and listen to an orchestra. Why should we listen to somebody playing a keyboard? But it comes back to the same thing with the organ, of course. If you wanted to hear an organist, you would go and listen to an organ. But to be able to create those sounds yourself in your own house was a novelty. With Hammond in 1934, of course, you could play an organ in your own home. Great, you know, it's super. Now, of course, you can listen to sounds like James Last, you can listen to sounds like Shack Attack, you can listen to sounds like the London Philharmonic Orchestra, and to a greater or lesser extent, recreate those sounds for yourself with your own playing, in your own home.
And I would think that it's quite reasonable to assume that you could fit a Yamaha organ into your living room rather than the London Philharmonic Orchestra, at least a great deal easier.
And less expensive, I should imagine, as well.
I would think so. heard on tonight's edition of Sounds Organised, the organ which is featured on your new LP is the top-of-the-range FX1. With all these items featured so heavily on the organ, the RAM pack computerised system whereby you can record sounds and feed them into a computer, and then you have them at your beck and call every time you come to play the same tune as is required. Does it make actual studio recording for LPs and tapes and so on easier to do?
Yes, it makes it a lot easier. I must correct you on one point. The instrument used wasn't the FX1, it was the FX20. The picture on the back of the sleeve is the FX1. The only reason is that is the flagship. The FX20 is the same, virtually. There are a few differences. The FX1 is the big concert model. In a studio it wouldn't make much difference. The tone is identical. Yeah, as regards studio recording time, it's got to make it better and quicker, I would imagine, purely because the sounds are going to be the same every single time that you play them. You don't have to work for balances, you don't have to try for balances, which does take an awful lot of studio time, as you well know. Now, of course, everything, I can work out a whole arrangement at home for the sounds,
yes,
and work them into a memory block. They go into the instrument, and those sounds are recreated in the studio exactly as I've perhaps practiced them 50 or 60 times. So I know what I'm going to get. It means that in the studio all you have to do is press the button and it's immediately balanced correctly. It can't be wrong.
Judging off some of the sounds which, again, we've heard tonight, I suppose that the age of multi-tracking as far as the Yamaha organs are concerned, or at least as far as the art is concerned with Yamahas, is past, because you can get all types of sounds, blend them together, all in one fell swoop, as it were.
Yeah, I think that depends again on the different instrumentalist. People like Brian Sharp will always multi-track, and I might say make a great success of it. Myself, I've made this record without any multi-tracking at all, purely because for me multi-tracking was a means to an end. I've used it on 2 LPs. It's very, very difficult to change from one sound to another. Okay, we can get moderate changes, like if you're 16/8 and 4-foot flute, you can add a 2-foot flute very easily. But to change from piano to big band at the click of a finger is impossible, humanly impossible. However, being able to pre-program all the sounds for changes like that, it means that now, of course, you don't need the multi-tracking. You don't need to be able to stop the tape and run it again and add sounds in.
That was a nice clunk in the background there. that wasn't one of the switch changes on the the organ, was it? No. Okay, Glyn, what about the future now? Because we seem to have come to a point where technology has reached its peak, I would think. What do you think is going to be in the pipeline over there in Japan?
I'd hate to say it, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen so much in this industry in the last few years. The D85, of course, came out 4 years ago, just around about 4 years ago. And at that time, I just joined the company, and the D85 seemed like the end of the earth. It was superb. Everybody said, these sounds are brilliant, where can we go from here? And we all believed that this must be it. Then, of course, they bring out the digital things, and we find that it was nowhere near it. We're now in a completely different world again. I don't know where it's going to go. I sincerely hope that it will go onwards in the way that it is doing at the moment. Musically, that is. It's hard to explain what I mean. I hope that it doesn't get too automated. The instruments that we have now they're a good balance. There are many organs appearing on the market that play virtually everything for you, bar the melody line. And that to me seems awfully sad. Yeah. If you're going to play an instrument, then there's no point in the instrument playing you. You've got to learn something to get any satisfaction. You've got to practice something and achieve something to get any satisfaction. With the instruments that we have now, yes, there are the usual automatic features, but there are no more, no less than we've had before. I hope that it carries on that way and that the improvements that they make will be in sounds, in sound reproduction, in useful features that are useful perhaps both to the amateur and the professional. Features like that, yes, I'm always ready to accept. I hope that they don't go into too much of the automation that takes away from the player. No. That would be sad.
Well, again, Glyn, can I, in thanking you for our bi-yearly chat, this seems to be almost in slightly pleasanter surroundings this time. However, that's another story. Can I, as I say, thank you very much once again. Could I ask you just to select a favourite track off your In Concert, as the title of the LP is? Do you have a favourite, and any particular reason?
It's hard to pick on one track, I suppose. Yes, I think for me, there was one track that was added as an afterthought. It hadn't been planned. I brought it in purely because I'd recorded something that I didn't like, and we'd scrubbed that, and I needed another piece of music. It's a piece of music that I took down from a TV serial about a year or so ago. I intended to use it on the D85, and it wasn't right for that instrument. I only played it about once. For this instrument, it is superb. It features the piano and orchestral side of it. Beautiful thing. The theme tune to the TV series To Serve Them All My Days.
Glyn, thanks very much indeed once again.
Thank you.
Remember, you heard it first on Sounds Organised.
Some interesting comments and thoughts there from Glyn Madden. And the musical items which were played on the Yamaha FX20 were, well, in the first instance we had the overture to The Marriage of Figaro by Mozart, A Comme Amour, a Richard Clayderman piece of music, and the theme from the film Star Wars, and finally, as Glyn said, the beautiful tune, the theme tune from the BBC television series To Serve Them All My Days.